Welcome to Confessions of a Modern Artist. I am your host, Luke Wynn, and my confession for today, a year ago, I didn't know anything about videography. Yeah, this is my confessional. 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 First of all, how are you guys doing? Are y'all doing good? Welcome back to the confessional. Yes, we are spilling the beans. We're letting out all the tea. We're being real. We're being vulnerable. Leave me a comment. Let me know how you guys are feeling. Let me know what you guys think about this so far. I know I'm enjoying it. I guess I've just had so much inside that I've been trying to just let out. And today is definitely where I let out the truth. A year ago, I didn't know anything about ISOs, f-stops, shutter speed, cameras. I knew how to edit. I knew a little bit about certain things. I knew how to press record and kind of edit in a really ghetto makeshift type of way. But no, a year ago, it's funny because go back to a year, shout out to the homie Adrian Ward, who I do a podcast with him as well, the Even It podcast. Subscribe to that if you haven't. It's amazing. I remember the way we kind of came into contact, we had this really cool conversation at some event that they put on for church. And he told me that he wanted to do a podcast. So I was like, oh, I edit podcasts. I can give you some consultation type of things. So we ended up going to his house, seeing his gear. Eventually, I would start filming his podcast. He had everything already set. I pretty much just had to press record. And because of me working with him, I ended up getting a job working at a church without walls that I love. And that job, the requirement was so vast. I was so intimidated to do a lot of the different things because it was outside of my realm of makeshift, good enough to put out type of, quality. I remember just in the interview, Jeff, he was talking about just some of the nature and the scope of the work, some of the things that I'll be doing. And it's so funny because I remember when I first started going to the church, they had this giant video wall. And I was like, wow, that's amazing. I can't imagine making the graphic to go onto that video wall, Fast forward 6 months later, I'm in this interview and he's like, yeah, if you get the job, you'll be able to, do graphic stuff. Are you good with Photoshop? I was capable with Photoshop, but I wouldn't say I was an expert by any means. And like I said, just in general, that was extremely intimidating, very daunting. And despite my lack of experience, the one thing that I didn't know that I had was work ethic and the ability to learn. And I feel like as a modern artist, now is the time to learn as much as possible. The days of walking into a studio, singing in a mic, leaving, and having a hit, those days are over. Right now, as a creative, as an artist, I definitely would recommend you having an understanding of cameras, of different poses, of videos, of production, of mixing, having an understanding of it and being willing to put yourself out there to do something that is a little uncomfortable, because when you do that, it actually will enhance the skill set that you have. I remember toward the end of last year, I had to rap a song for church, and everything that went with the videography, the editing, all that stuff that I had been doing for a full year, creating highlights, there was such a giant challenge that I was super focused. I was always learning, always trying to grow, always trying to get better because I was aware of my pitfalls and I was aware of where I wanted to be. And I was trying my best to figure out how can I get there? How can I become a great editor? How can I become a great videographer? I had a contract to do a documentary. And that was another thing was how can I make my projects look like Ava DuVernay? How can I make these documentaries look like that? And the year of experience that I had just working at the church constantly, 9 to 5 type of thing, it enhanced my skill set, but it was always challenging, And if things would get too easy, I would say, okay, cool, now it's time to go to the next level. Let me go deeper. Let me not just keep doing the exact same thing and stay complacent. But I was always trying to go deeper. So by the end of last year, 2023, they asked me to write a Christian rap and rap it on stage. And it was the easiest thing I had to do last year. It was so easy because obviously I had spent 15 years in music production, writing, rapping, and singing. But being on stage, rapping, creating the song, the beat took 5 minutes to make. The song took like 12 minutes to write. Not being cocky, but it was just such a level of comfort that I had been in for so long that I realized, like, wow, like as an artist, sometimes we become so used to just the creative part that it becomes extremely easy, and we can sometimes fear the actual challenges. Sometimes we can become afraid to take a challenge. We can become afraid to do something new, to learn something new, because we just want to stay in our comfort zone. But if I'm being honest with you, rapping is easy. You know, if you've been singing for 20 years, your whole life, singing is easy. But we have to understand that there's something that's going to take us to the next level. And all of it can be like a Venn diagram, right? Where you have your art, your creative passion right here, but when your work ethic allows you to learn something new, they're going to eventually cross. And you may not understand it at the time, but by me going to a church, working, doing videography, it's definitely enhanced my skill set, my vision, my understanding of just the art of being behind the camera. And now I can do my podcast and I have confidence in knowing how to edit, knowing how to set up a set, knowing how to, figure out what works, what doesn't work. In this season, in 2024, let's use every single moment as a learning experience. Let's not take for granted the opportunities that we have that may seem insignificant. Let's utilize everything that's at our dispense. I think that's a word. Let's utilize everything that we have at our fingertips and use it to enhance our craft. Me accepting the job, accepting to do something new has allowed me to understand so much deeper what my errors were in the past music videos that I used to do, understand just the gravity of what I needed, A lot of times we see something on a music video and we're like, oh, I want that. But you don't understand what it takes to get there. So me being behind the camera, understanding what it takes to get there, I now know how to direct and lead someone so that and for my next music video, if I want that, I know how to make it happen. So with this confessional, I want to encourage you guys just to not be afraid. Don't be afraid to try new things. Don't be afraid to make pivots in your craft, And if you are at a point where you are getting bored, things are becoming stale, you are hitting a writer's block, take on a new craft, because once that challenge happens, like let's say you are writing stories, right? You're trying to write a book. Maybe take on the challenge of writing songs. So then when you get back to writing novels, the ease and the comfort is just going to be there, and you're going to have so much more passion and excitement because it's going to be something that's so natural to you. Like last year, I was so focused being behind the camera, the album that I put out last year, I had been working on that for a few years. Not even, I finished it up 2 years ago before I put it out. But I took all last year just not doing too much new music that by the time I started again, it was just so nice. It was just so natural. I was so energized, so enthusiastic about it. But before that, anytime I would try to go back to the studio, I'm like, okay, what am I going to talk about? What am I going to do with this time? There was like this weird tension, a little bit of frustration, but just boredom, because I'm like, I'm not where I want to be. I have 3 albums that I'm sitting on right now. Why even record? So taking that pivot, taking on this new skill set, it's allowed me to love the craft that much more, but also it's allowed me to understand how natural and how fun the music is, And I feel like sometimes we can lose that. We can lose the passion. We can lose the excitement for this thing that we've been chasing, that we've been doing, that we've been performing, that we've been, we have dreams and we have goals trying to reach this thing, trying to just do this at a very high level, that sometimes we can lose the joy that we used to get, And that's the biggest thing that, kind of resonated with me a lot last year, was just the idea of taking on a new challenge allowed me to fall more deeply in love with music at a time where I thought I was done. I was so comfortable doing the videography things. I was like, okay, you know what? Maybe I'm good not doing music. But then once I do music again, it's like, oh man, this is my love. And the last thing I'll say is this. Always keep everything into perspective. If you're anything like me, we're modern creatives. I'm a very extreme person, right? So I'm going to be extremely all in or extremely all out. And the one thing that I'm learning is, as much as I love music, don't drop everything just for the music, you know? Don't sacrifice everything just for the music. Not yet. Like, there's going to be a time when you're going to have to arrange things and put things in order. You have to align everything properly, you know? Put everything in its proper place. But don't become so used to putting all eggs in one basket that you miss out on so many other opportunities and so many other experiences that can still help to enhance the craft that you're trying to do. Take advantage of that. So, for today, my question for you is this. What's your confession? What skill did you learn, or are you trying to learn, or do you feel maybe daunting? You may be afraid to try a new instrument, to pick up a new craft, to do something new. What skill is it that you're nervous to do? I want you to know that you're not going to be perfect straight up. It's not going to be easy to begin with, but as you put in the time, put in the reps, you're going to find that focusing on that and enhancing that skill set is going to allow you to love your craft that you have been doing for a very long time, even more. Don't be afraid. It's going to be good. If you have any confessions, leave them in the comments below. My daughter didn't scream this episode. See y'all next time. Yeah, this is my confessional. This is my confessional. This is my confessional. This is my confessional. This is my confessional.